Welcome, everybody. We are going to be talking about what else was going on in the 1960s and early 70s besides the Civil Rights Movement. We spent some time talking about Dr. King and Malcolm X. Today, we're going to talk about what else was going on in the government and in America at the time. This series of videos will probably be 2 or 3 videos long. They will all be in the same playlist on YouTube, and I'll all have links to them on Schoology. But this is what you are going to be watching and listening to get this information, since I'm not going to be in school today. First thing that we're going to talk about is the president, the executive branch, and how it starts to change in the late 50s to early 70s. After World War II, our president was Harry Truman, the only president from Missouri, and he was having a hard time transitioning from war to peace. He barely won his re-election campaign, and as a matter of fact, newspapers even printed up the wrong headline because they thought it was such a sure thing that Truman would be defeated. But he got his goal of re-election, and he put together a plan called the Fair Deal. And he said that if we could have 21 points, if we had 21 goals to help get government back on track, we would do just fine as a country. Now, if you think back to your history books, the president that had a similar sounding plan was who? It was Teddy Roosevelt. Okay, he was the guy who came up with the square deal back when people were talking about fights between the workers and the bosses back in the Union days. Okay, so he was kind of reminding people of Teddy Roosevelt and trying to kind of copy that in a way. It was designed to help all Americans. If you can believe this, minimum wage at the time was 40 cents, and President Truman wanted to raise it to 75 cents an hour, and that was a big deal for people. It also expanded Social Security, helped poor Americans find homes or get loans to buy homes. It banned discrimination in the Army. And he had other plans too, but those were the big 4 things. Some of the ideas Congress didn't like didn't end up getting passed. So those were the 4 big things. Okay, just as a reminder, if at any time you need to stop this video, if you need to pause it to write something down, feel free, and then you can just hit play whenever you're ready. After President Truman, President Eisenhower wins. We watched that commercial of his. Remember, I had the cartoon in the song. He won by a large margin in 1952, and he promised that government would have less of a role in people's everyday lives. Okay, sometimes this is called small government, and this is a pretty standard Republican plan. How they want less interference from the government so that, in their view, people can do what they want. Okay? They don't like taxes, they don't like federal spending, and they generally view the smaller the government, the better. Okay. One of the big things that he did to help people was called the Interstate Highway Act. All those highways that we drive on, that is in part thanks to Eisenhower. Okay? It was going to build 41,000 miles over 12 years. It would give a lot of jobs away, and it would all be done through a tax on gasoline. So whenever people bought gasoline, it was going towards helping this construction project. One of the big things that motivated all this was defense. We were afraid of those Russians attacking us during the Cold War. So if bombs dropped in California, we wanted highways so people could run away from California, or so that emergency responders could go to California and from anywhere in the country. It ended up improving shipping costs and times. It ended up increasing tourism and helped connect the suburbs to the cities, like we talked about. Okay. During his time, the president had the country mostly very peaceful. He got us out of the Korean War, and it was mostly very peaceful. The next presidential election was between John F. Kennedy in the picture on the left and Richard Nixon on the right. Nixon was Eisenhower's VP, but he lost to John F. Kennedy. Okay? John F. Kennedy was a young hotshot politician. Something else that had never happened before was that he was Catholic. Some people thought that the Pope would tell him what to do and he would have to listen to the Pope because of his religion. But it ended up not being an issue in the long run. JFK won by a very thin margin and promised that he would support the whole country, not just the Catholics. Okay. He wanted to go the other way than Eisenhower did. He wanted to increase the government's role in people's lives. And this is called big government. The Democrats see government as an advantage and a way that we can fight poverty, increase educational opportunities, and promote civil rights. Okay. At the time, the civil rights movement had been started. We talked about Emmett Till. We talked about Dr. King here on the right and the March on Washington. And Kennedy was trying to help out the civil rights movement. He asked Congress to ban segregation. He met with famous civil rights leaders and eventually got the Civil Rights Act of 1964 signed as well. He tried to do some other things for other groups that aren't necessarily politically strong. He wanted to give more health care to seniors and to disabled people, which was kind of a new idea relatively. Those really wouldn't end up getting passed until the next president. Okay, we're going to stop in this video, so please click on the next link or just continue watching, and YouTube should take you to the next video right away. But I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.